position, others might still be analyzing. No consultation and other help is permitted. And there will be this bottle of wine here for the winner. Please note your name on the piece of paper. Sometimes people forget that, and write your answer clearly. So it'll be answer A, B, C, D, etc. So it's a multiple choice test. And yeah, we will try and count the number of correct answers you have while we're doing the analysis, so we can give the prize at the end. When we do the analysis, I guess we will say our opinion about why the best play is the best play and what to think about, but then we'll of course also invite you to speak up if you have any questions or comments. I don't know what sort of time frame we have for this. Is it a 1 hour or something? So of course we cannot keep the discussions going forever, but if somebody feels they have a good point about a position that we have not mentioned, then you're welcome to say so. The late arrivals we have, okay, Trabolt. So let's just give everybody a minute to settle, and then we will start. Can you hear us? We have a microphone, but I don't know if it's required. I hope you can all hear us. Mein Deutsch ist leider nicht so gut. Dein Deutsch ist nicht von schlechten Eltern. Okay, are we all ready? Then we will show the first position. That's 1 minute up, so if you haven't written your answer, please do so now, because I will change to the next position. Time for position number 3. You know what the beat means? Time for the last position. That's 1 minute gone. So we'll collect your answers.
Vi har forsøgt at lave et lille tema ud af det her.
In English.
No, sorry. We've tried to make a little theme out of this. And does anybody who has a guess about what the theme could be? Kind of a red thread and positions? Yeah?
Things we don't know.
Yeah, okay. What we have tried to do is find some reasonably normal looking positions. And then when there is some kind of normal standard key concept that did not apply there.
Situations where the automatic play is usually wrong, or is wrong.
And then
or
maybe
rules of thumb that fail and stuff like that.
And what we hope is like to discuss this a little bit and maybe try to understand why it is so. But maybe that will not work out. We'll see.
All right. Take us through the first ones, Ravi.
Yeah. So what I do when I try to practice backgammon is I have a lot of positions where I have made some mistake. I print them out and then I look at them over and over and over again. And most of them I can remember, and especially if there's some kind of theme. But some of the positions, I just keep making mistakes when I look at them again. So a position like this is a position that for some reason I simply cannot figure it. I can see it, I've seen it like 100 times, and if I cannot specifically remember this position, I will make a mistake here. So the right play according to the machine is entering high and hitting. That is like just breaking everything down. And can I ask, how many persons got that right? 3. Okay, so I'm not the only one. What I would see, there are 2 things that I always consider. It's for me, it's very important. It's a race, and then it's checkers in the zone, and that is how I think. Basically, I would say. For instance, if you ask a player like Much is, oh, is this priming or blitzing or something? But the way I think is mostly checkers in the zone and the race. And for me, what I see here is 13 checkers in the zone. So there's one automatic response for me in this position. Make an anchor as fast as possible. And you can make it here. You can even make a high anchor, blocking all those checkers. So that is my default play. Can I ask how many players did that? Okay. So I'm not totally alone. The problem with this play is that we are down like 45 pips, so we are down like 40 pips after the roll, and we are entering some kind of a holding game. And 40 pips in a holding game, it's very, even if we get hit once, we might fall into some kind of a back game, but we don't have a timing for that, and a holding game we're just lost. Because even if we contain a checker or we have a little exchange later in the game, we are still down 20 pips, even if we hit him, and it's just bad. And then if I played a consultant with Christian, he would say, maybe we should hit. And if I was convinced to hit, I would enter low and hit with a 5. So even my second, if I can't play my best play, I would play the second best play.
That was my play.
Yeah. So.
it seems extremely bold to play the play, which is right.
Yes, and it even leaves black basically everything. Because sixes are hitting, and basically every five is double hitting, and then you're basically toast.
But I suppose there are two things. Firstly, you need to hit in order to keep him occupied in your homeland, so he doesn't get the momentum. And secondly, he has no board, so maybe it's not that intimidating as one thinks.
Yes, that's two very good points. Anybody else has any ideas why this is right?
But if you want to hit to keep him occupied, why not just make the anchor? I mean, you can do it right away. So it doesn't matter to keep him occupied.
I guess you also want to hit your board.
My explanation would be the other game plan is lost anyway. You're going to be doubled out, and if he dances and everything runs extremely well, then you have a little chance that works.
Yeah, actually the dancing numbers is something that is very, very important here. Even the 4 dancing numbers in this position, and then you are actually close to a redouble or to a double yourself. So that is actually, you have a so bad a position that just giving yourself 4 good numbers, that is actually very important. Yeah.
The last point here, is that why 8-5 is better than 10-5? No, the other way around. Yeah, the 8-5 is better than 10-5 round, because if he dances, then you can cover with 1s and 3s and 5s instead. Do you understand what I'm saying?
And hit with sixes.
And hit with
Yeah,
sixes.
that could be. I think
No, not
actually,
hit with sixes, sorry.
if you are hit, you don't mind so much the exchange, because you can get actually more checkers back and maybe get into some kind of well-timed back game, which at the moment is quite good.
Or if black has already doubled, is the anchor correct then?
No, it's the same.
It's the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other comments to add or questions? Otherwise, we'll move on with the next.
But again, also it was mentioned, if you have a terrible bad position, sometimes you should just try something. And this try something is just slot both 5 points and see what happens. Yeah. Okay, and this is another position that I just keep making a mistake out of. Usually, the idea is if you are down 50 pips and you have anchors in your home boards, it's very seldomly correct to release them. The correct play is actually stepping out, and not just once, but stepping out all the way. Sometimes you reshuffle your anchors in order to get a bigger back game or something. That is not possible here, but usually the anchors stay fit. So anybody has any ideas why it would be correct here? How many did play the right play?
So we have a tied lead of 4 people with 1, correct?
Why, Pia? Why?
Timing, I was thinking, and the fours are bad, so now you can approve it. And yeah,
Okay,
you cannot stay on the 18, so,
cannibalizing on his force mainly.
and also, yeah, some.
Okay.
And actually, this is another, if you played a double and you say, okay, maybe we should step out, this is another, okay, then we would step out with the 2 to the anchor and play this holding anchor game.
Yeah, to the bar, you mean?
To the bar,
Yeah.
yeah. But actually, it's right to step out, and it is actually something about timing that if black succeeds to come out with a back checker, it's actually having all these checkers blocked is quite bad. And I see Munk Christensen is not the right position actually.
It's not?
No. The position I originally proposed was actually with 2 checkers here, but I see it's the same.
Okay.
But then there was a subtle point that if you have the 4 away, usually if you have the 6 away and get a shot, it's 17 shots. And if you step up, it's still 17 shots because you have the 6-5 from the down, but you don't have that here. But another interesting point here is actually the ace duplication. Usually the reflex play would be to get away of a checker here, but that ace is actually quite duplicated because black likes to step up with an ace. And furthermore, if it's hit, there are so many return shots, so that's actually in our favor.
Kom bare ind, Carl.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Could you explain me something? My over the board play wasn't even a choice. I would play 13-7. Why is that wrong?
What we like to do is actually to contain the last checker, but that needs for you to roll an ace next time, and otherwise you're basically out of timing. You have nothing to do left.
So I can attack.
Yeah, that's what you have to do. Yeah. But the problem is the checkers over there, they are blocked, and then it's basically up to the dice what you can do. If you step out, you have something to play with. So it's a lot more flexible.
Maybe there's also better outfield coverage if you step out to the 16 than if you stop on 18.
Yes, because the checker on the 13, actually you get more return shots if there's a run with like 5-4 or something.
Yeah.
Hvorfor ikke spille, jeg ved godt, det står på den der, men punktet, altså lave punktet fra 20 til 18, altså gå løs på ham på 4'eren, altså skifte punkt i niveauet. Der synes jeg, man tager en terning fra ham, kan man sige, og man har stadigvæk, altså der er jo ikke tvivl om, man skal få 20 ud på 18. Men prøv at vinde sig selv en tid, hvorfor det ikke er en mulighed.
What Max is asking is why not maybe step out and then attack on the 2-point? The problem with this play is that you have 4 checkers blocked on the other side of the board, and then the blitzing plan is not so attractive. But even if it succeeds, you have to get all these checkers around before the last checker escapes.
Jeg tænker lidt med, at man kan landbrække, altså at du kan spille fra 24 ud til 18, så meget godt mellempunkt, samtidig med at du har dem fra 10'eren og 8'eren og 6'eren og mandlige for ham, men det er ikke nok.
Vil du punktskifte eller hit loose?
Jeg vil punktskifte fra 20 til 18, og så lave punktet fra 4 til 2.
I think the problem is that when you are blitzing with too many men back, it's not attractive. It gives him too much time to escape or hit you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
And here's another, usually what we learn when we have played for 1 week, if you can make the 5-point and ahead of him, then you're doing that. And just don't think of anything else, just do it. And of course, it's very attractive here to make an anchor, but for me, why I cannot understand this position and I cannot see it, is that I've learned also the key concepts for me is like, I read all these Kid Wilsey's match commentating, don't step under the gun of 3 or more checkers. It's very, very dangerous. So for me, when I make the anchor, I don't see a 3. It's simply a blind spot for me. Because if you hit with a 3, obviously it's better just to make the point. So that is not a 3, and you can't play behind, you can't play down. And stepping up under the gun, for some reason, my brain just does not see that as a viable option.
How many got this one correct?
Oh, an easy one.
So Pia is in the lead with 2 correct.
As expected.
Sorry?
As expected.
Yeah.
Yeah. Laugh it up.
So what we should see here is actually that all the points, outfield points, are stripped. So if Black likes to attack on the 5-point, he needs to break his points. That's not too attractive for him. And then also, if you step up, it's aces and 3s that can hit. That actually Black would also like to creep up and make a more advanced anchor. So there is some kind of duplication also. But for me, I don't really know. I don't know if does anybody else have some weak spots they are aware of, but they cannot do anything about it. Like here, I simply don't see stepping up under the gun as a viable option. No.
No.
Oh, later. No weak spot.
No.
Those who got it correct, what did you think?
1 and 4.
I just wanted the anchor and then.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
I didn't get it correct, but his points are very stripped, so maybe it's less dangerous, I guess, to step up to the 20 when the points are so stripped.
Yeah.
Giving up the 8 or
Yeah, and maybe the risk potential is not so big since he has 4 checkers back, so okay, the worst that can happen is he points on head on the 5 point, but then you're still a favorite to come in and you do have the 18 anchor, so the risk is not so high.
And there's some duplication in trees.
Yeah. And then also there is some the 9 is actually a quite good blocking and landing point, so it's really giving us something.
Once and threes are duplicated.
All right, we have half an hour left, so I think we will move on to the next position. This one is one of my positions. How many got this one correct? 2 people. Basically, I think the rule of thumb is when you're ahead in the race, you want to race and you want to reduce the contact, and typically that means releasing the rearmost point and trying to run home. And in this particular case, you can even build the best possible 4-point board by doing so, which might be a good thing to have if you're hit back, because black has blocks on his side of the board, and then that 4-point board you're building could come in handy. So I'm assuming that most people's automatic play will be to just run 14 to 5 here. So how many got this one correct? Okay. What is, there are 2 problems I see with this play. The first is that we are giving 2 more shots on the 14 as opposed to if we just bring 2 checkers down. It's 13 shots versus 11 shots. And more importantly, we actually have more contact against the 18 point here from the midpoint. We would like to release some of that contact since we are up in the race and we are basically looking to disengage. So the midpoint in this position will be more dangerous and difficult to clear than the 14 point. And if we bring two checkers down from the mid, then we have a lot of spares with which we can play while we wait for a liberating double that can bring the 14 point home. And sometimes we don't need to disengage, because sometimes it happens that black rolls a big set and then another big set and then black disengages, and we don't have to do that. That also happens sometimes in holding games. So the best play is to bring 2 down. Then you might wonder, what about the cube position? Does that matter here? Right now the cube is in the middle, and we have 2 down as clearly the best play, and I think the automatic play, at least for me and maybe for others, running from 14 is a distant third best. If we give black the cube, let's say we cubed earlier in the game, it's still best to bring 2 down from the mid, but 14-5 moves up to a close second. So actually, it's a lot better to run from the 14 if we have already cubed. And there are 3 reasons I can think of why this is better after we've cubed. The first one is if we're hit here on the 9 point, then we hit from the 18 point, then we will lose more ground in the race. So our race rate to be worse if we bring 2 down and we hit down here. So we are not as far up in the race as if we are hit on the 14s. That's the first thing. The second thing is, if we run from 14, we will have made the 5 points, so we have the best 4-point board, and if there is a series of, let's say, hits and return hits, then it's a good thing to have that 4 point. And finally, if we're hit and we dance, we still have the good contact 6 points away from the mid, and that basically means even if we're hit and we fan, black can't cube us from the bar. When we're on the bar, we can't be cubed. Whereas if we're hit here and we don't have the big contact, then black has a very, very strong cube if we fan after we're hit. So I think the automatic play would be to clear from the rear if we can and reduce contact, and we even built the 4-point board, but that's actually a big mistake here. Any comments or questions?
It's obvious when you see it.
Yeah.
What if the race was even?
I didn't check that. But
Probably you would have the 6-away contact.
probably.
My play was the second best play. What
Yeah.
do you think is the
Yeah,
winning? How do you
okay,
win
it's
against
also
that?
like a pay now, pay later situation. So, yeah, I think you want to pay later if you just build the board and you wait for some shots. But the problem with that is then we are completely stripped, and we have one spare to play with on the 8. And in the meantime, next time, Black rates to have the best 4-point board. Right now, there is a little bit of weakness in Black's board, so we should really look to disengage now if possible, given the state of Black's board. So that's the reason why we're looking for some kind of play that will reduce contact and prepare to come home, and we need to take that chance now.
Thank you.
All right, next position. How many have got 3 correct? I don't think we have any. 2 correct. Pia, anybody else with 2 correct? No? Right, this is also my position. I got this wrong myself in the match, so I've looked a lot at it to try and understand what's going on. How many got this play correct?
What is the correct play?
The best play is to come in on the 24, which is forced, and then you play 4-1, dumping the check on the 8 point. What's going on here is we have a priming battle. And there are 2 ways you can win a priming battle. Either you can step up to the edge of the opponent's prime and jump over before he jumps over your prime. That's plan A. Plan B is to try and contain the opponent's checker and make him force his prime to crunch, and then you can jump after he's crunched his prime. Those are the 2 ways you can win a priming battle, no other ways. Plan A, to get to the edge of the prime and jump over, is not an option here because he has a full prime. So the only way you could win this position is to force Black to crunch his prime. That's the only way you can win this game. And I just make the automatic play in the match to just like hitting loose at the edge of the prime. We're used to hitting loose at the edge of the prime. In priming battles, that's the automatic play, and it does a lot of good things. It's a pure play, you put the checkers where they belong, and it also makes it harder for the opponent to escape, because then he first needs to roll a number that comes to the edge of your prime, and then he needs to roll another number to jump. That's much harder for him than if he just needs a number to jump. So for that reason, the automatic play is to hit loose. But here it's simply wrong, because as I said, plan A, get to the edge of the prime and jump over, it's not possible. The only way we can win here is to force Black to crunch his prime. And if we put 2 on the bar by hitting on the 2 point, which was my play, then we slow his crunch down a lot. Then he first needs to enter 2 checkers, then he needs to break his prime, and all of that needs to happen without you doing anything and you keeping your prime, and that's just completely unrealistic. So we need to find a way to maintain our prime as long as we can, and then see if we can make Black crunch. So of course we are forced to hit on the 24, that brings another Black checker behind our prime, and then the best play is simply to dump a checker on the 8 point, and then we hope to get hit. And then we hope to dance all the way, and then while Black is making plays and we're fanning, then his prime goes away, and eventually we can come in, and then at least we have an avenue to escape home. And that is the best way to win this one.
No, has been said.
So
How much extra
you can,
balance is it?
what?
Is it right for money also?
Yes, it's also clearly best for money. It's twice as big a mistake to hit loose for money. There's some timing things going on here and some technical things. Black has a spare on the 7 point, and that means there are basically no crunching numbers for Black from the bar. If we move this spare forward in Black's board, for instance, to the 2 point, then Black all of a sudden has 14 crunching numbers from the bar. And that's so much that then it becomes right to just play the quiet 10-7. Then it's much more likely that Black will eventually crunch his prime, and then we don't need to get on the bar as badly. So if we move that spare forward, then we just make the quiet play 10-7, hoping Black enters fast and crunches his board.
how much forward do we have to move it before it's correct to play 10-7?
If it comes down to 4 point, 3 point, or 2 point.
Thereabout.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, I've chosen 3 positions. Each position has been very painful it's a painful loss for each of us 3. This one's from 2009 World Championship final between Tabi and Mucci. And there's a 3-2 to play, and if no one, I don't know what you were thinking that is many years ago, but I think a lot of players would just play 8-5, 13-11. If it's not a quiz, like in a match situation. How many got the right play? Sorry, I meant make the anchor and then the 5 point. How many got?
What are you asking now?
I'm asking how many got the right play? 13.
The right play?
Yeah, but 13, 11, 8, 5.
Wow, impressive.
Yeah.
What I think the automatic play would be to make the anchors on the twin.
Yeah.
On
That's
the
what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah, but we have learned about sorted here.
Yeah.
I think you have to be Danish to understand. So this is it's a complicated position in the sense that obviously you want to make the 5, but after you make the 5, your Mucci has a weak back game, you can say, but also Tabi's position is that there's no real reason to make the anchor. What Tabi wants to be doing is he wants to be making a prime here, and actually there are no rolls except double 1s and double 3s where Mucci should hit. All other numbers don't hit. And then notice also that these points are all stripped. So that also puts pressure on Mucci's position. So what White is trying to do is just to improve the position. Just take the 3 and the 2 down. And those blocks also add flexibility. And yeah, yet again, it doesn't matter if it's hit or not. Notice also the race is 40 pips at the moment, but if there shouldn't be any timing issues here, and especially if this prime could just be extended here.
Just so I understand it, Trabolt did play 18 and 5.
No, I think.
When did he play?
I think he played 18. Yeah, sorry, 18.
He played 18 and 5. Okay. But it's better to try to make
Just extend the prime,
Yeah,
and there's
try
no
to extend
the
prime.
block. So the rule of thumb is just make points, right? So you make the 5 point, you make the 18 point, and then you roll. You might not even think about that. That's a difficult point.
Yeah, and why should not be scared of being hit here?
There's no risk. Like even
it's not like black can go forward. So the biggest risk of being hit is that we have to return hit, and black can get more checkers back and then get a timed, well-timed back game. That's actually the biggest risk here.
Yeah, and like I said, like 3-1, 2-1, you're not hitting. They're not hitting there. They're doing something else. So just double 1s and double 8s. That's all.
So Pia, how many did you have? 3 correct so far, or? Yeah, and anybody with 2 correct? All right, it can still be exciting here. Any other comments or questions to this one? Otherwise, we move on to the next.
Yeah. So there, you might be misled into there's a score issue, but just this is just a position from a painful loss that Christian had. Trabolt, where he played against Dogfin. This is the final. So probably your biggest match, right, ever?
Yeah, at the time, yeah.
Yeah. So big match, and then a lopsided score, but the score is not that relevant. How many got this right? It's switching. Oh my goodness. So the quiz is over. We already have Yeah. So 3-2. So what were you thinking? Yeah.
The cube hasn't been turned, so I don't want to give a shot.
Yeah.
And I don't want to go behind, so I make the 1s.
Yes. And the usual reason for not doing that is that it sort of messes up your board. You might think that this messes up your board, so you just, like the correct play is switching to the ace, so you make a weaker point and you have 2 blots instead of 1 blot. And since there's a race issue, you didn't have the race in the quiz, right? So, but here there's a race difference of 10 pips, and when so black wants to run, so you're tempted to just reduce everything and then just accept the 6-4, the 6-4 outshot. But what happens is that the 6-4 is really big in itself. Like there's such a huge swing off 6-4, but also the two blots compared to 1 blot, black should be running with 6s, and it's very close if he should be running with 4 2s and so on with the 2 blots. So, but some of the 6s he'll be running with anyway. So when Christensen gives up this point and plays here, and black runs here, then if that blot if he doesn't hit here, then that blot's under pressure. So by keeping it as a point, then the other player's Dogfin's plan of running home with both checkers gets more difficult. Sort of, it's more abstract that way of thinking. So the 2 blots compared to 1 blot in the inner board isn't that big of a problem that it looks like in the position.
It's interesting, when Daniel sent me this position and his 3 positions, I didn't recognize it, even though it was for my own match, and I just thought about the 3 plays. He didn't send it with the analysis. He just sent the position. So I was, when you see the positions, you start thinking, hey, what I play here, and I immediately saw, we must make this 1 point here. So that's interesting that when I see it now, to me it feels clear to make the 1 point, and I'm wondering what the hell was I thinking at the time. At the time I was using running pip count, I still do, and I must have been aware that I was down in the race, so probably I was thinking what Daniel alluded to, that hey, he looks to disengage and I cannot have too many blots in my board if that happens, so then it's hard for me to hit him. So I play down, then I have something with which to attack him, and it only pays off to 6-4. That's probably what I thought at the time. But now I see it make the 1 point and don't give any shots.
Yeah, that's one way of looking at it, and the right way. The problem is if you get the wrong rationale, you can't come to it, because I also saw that he had to run and I have to be able to punish him, right? And leaving 2 blots in my homeland would be bad for me, because I might not be able to hit in the outfield, right? So still it's not obvious. Why is it better to leave 2 blots?
To not give the shots?
Yeah.
You're hurt too much on the 6-4?
Yeah.
Yeah, the main reason is the 6-4, and then there's a secondary, smaller reason, and that is that the point here puts more pressure on whatever blot is running than if that remains a blot.
And I'm not trying to argue that.
Yeah, let's argue.
I'm not trying to do that, but it's only 2 numbers.
Yeah.
All the other running numbers, I would be sad to leave 2 blots in my home board, and that's why it's hard for me to find overboard.
Yeah, I understand.
But basically, it's when you're behind in the race, don't race.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
That's the automatic play.
Yeah,
All
sorry.
right.
Yeah, that is the third reason, like, because it's kind of a running play, right? You're disengaging contact in a race where you're trailing. So even when it works, it doesn't work.
All right, last position analysis.
Yeah, and this is my painful position, and might be the easiest one of the 8 positions. This is my late round in World Championships against Petco, and 5. We're both missing 5. It's actually even painful looking at it now, because it's a close match, and I've already doubled, and I really want to win it, of course. And I lose this I lose this game. I just chose the second best. So how many got this right? See, I was right, it wasn't the easiest one. So, did you get it right again?
You have a winner?
I think we have a winner. So we don't have Yeah, so what I was looking at was that I'm trailing the race. I was also at the time doing a running pip count, and I had, I knew what the race was, and I figured, well, I'm outboarded, and I'm trailing in the race. So I don't want to be running. A very key feature in the position, anyone want to guess? The key feature in the position of why running is right?
He can. It's very seldom that he can hit on you because you will leave 2 blocks in his own land.
Exactly.
So it's not as dangerous as it looks.
Exactly. And that blot, if you fiddle around with that blot, then it's wrong to run. Like if you just put the blot here, even though it's the same numbers that are hitting, the vulnerability in that position isn't the same, and then my play would have been correct. But since he has that blot, then anytime, then it's just easier to get the checkers moving. And the outfield control issue is everything here, because if I get to run out here, he can't run. Or maybe he can, but it won't be as efficient. So first one that gains outfield control has the outfield control. So if I just keep put, then he'll run out, and then he has it, then I can never run. So, yeah, that was it.
Here, come up here. Congratulations. Well done. You give the next seminar.
Tak for det.
Tak for nu. Det er tilmelding indtil kvart i speed. Sign in for the speed tournament.